What's up, everybody? Welcome into another mock draft duel episode here on the OBR streaming network. I'm your host Jacob, with my co-host Mr. Sam Penix. Sam, how you doing tonight, man?
I'm not doing too bad. How are you?
Not too bad. It's very cold leaving the office today. So hold on just a second.
I can imagine. It's that
Sorry
time
about
of
that.
year.
Yeah, no, like I definitely left my house. It was 22 degrees. I got a little bit further north. It turned 12 degrees and started snowing. And I was like, I would like to get as far out of here as I possibly could.
That's how you know the combine's almost here.
The dropping temperatures like that.
Yep.
The combine's
Feel it
one
in
of
my
my,
bones.
yeah, I I don't know, man. If the temperature is in the teens, I'm like, I just have absolutely no interest in doing anything. All right, everybody, welcome in again to another episode. Make sure you hit that subscribe, give us a thumbs up, enjoy our little "It's Been Cold" banter. But this week we are going with a triple mock draft here, and bringing in my good friend Mr. Bill Sparks. We'll bring him in here to this conversation. Oh no. Bill is in audio only mode. Bill, can you hear me?
I
There he
can
is.
hear you. Can you see me?
I can see you. I can see you.
Beautiful.
How you doing, man?
Beautiful. I'm doing great. I'm glad to be here. I'm with you. It's a little bit chillier, but draft season's heating up and the amount of tape I'm consistently grinding and regrinding is keeping me warm. So I'm happy for that. I'm gonna be even happier in 2 weeks when I'm at the combine and I can actually put some of the measurements on my tape now. So
I'm very jealous. I switched jobs very recently in careers, so I'm not like in the able to take time off right now kind of thing. Because I was trying to get down to Mobile and I was trying to get over to Indy, at least one of them.
yeah.
Because I like set that goal 2 years ago. It's like I'm gonna go do this thing, and then I didn't do this thing. All right, so for tonight, I've got the PFF mock draft simulator. Sam's gonna have NFL mock draft database. Bill's got PFN, and we're gonna try to give you guys as many different scenarios as we can, all here jam packed into this hour. Please fire away thoughts, picks, preferences, all that good stuff in the comments. We very much enjoy interacting with you guys. So, Bill, I don't have it. If you want to share your screen, and I don't have it yet.
Let me grab it.
That way we can do. I just want to make sure I've got everything. I've got mine. I've got that. While Bill's doing that, I will send it to Mr. Sam Penix, and he can kick off the festivities tonight with his PFN, and let's see how quickly he trades all the 6th round picks.
Yeah, I was going to say, do we want to get that out of the way right off the bat, or
It's, Bill, there's a running joke. I don't know if you've seen the show before, but Sam likes to trade all the 6th round picks so he doesn't have to make them. So
Fair.
he likes to get that out of the way pretty quickly.
hey, give me some credit. That's not the reason. It's because there's no roster spots available, right? It's
That's
definitely
true.
not because I don't want to make all the 6th round picks.
Right. It's
Definitely not.
Fair enough.
All right. I don't know. Let's be different, and I'll go with Ward here because I haven't done that yet. So I think at this point, if I'm gambling on a QB prospect in this year's draft, I want a guy who I think at least has the physical capability to be in that upper echelon of guys. And I think really Ward is far outclassing Sanders in that specific regard. That's obviously not the whole entire picture of who these guys are as players, but for me, if I'm gonna have to hitch my wagon to one of these guys, I want the guy who I think can at least make all the throws, can extend the plays out of the pocket, and just kind of has that next level of not necessarily elite arm strength, but definitely very good tier. And so I think we'll take that risk here and go with Ward at number 2.
I just wanted to put Fumble's comments up here because, like, if Mike Green fell to 33 after Cam Ward at 2,
Listen.
Whew.
I don't see a way of him getting out of the top 10 at this point. Like, he's going to go to the combine and blow the doors off of that place. Like, we thought what he did to Josh Connerly in Mobile was tweet worthy and social media worthy. He's gonna do something at the combine that everybody's going to reshare, and ESPN's going to play it 74 times on draft.
Yeah, that's probably fair. All right, Bill, man, let's pass it over to you, man, and get us started with your first pick.
Yeah, so obviously in this case, I would have went quarterback as well, hence the reason for my Baker Mayfield jersey tonight. I've kind of hopped on the quarterback at number 2 train, but since Sam went in that route, I'm going to go a little bit different. I'm going to go Travis Hunter, the corner wide receiver out of Colorado. And the reason I say that is obviously this team's going to have a need at multiple positions, cornerback being one of them, wide receiver being another, especially with Elijah Moore moving on. I think Travis Hunter is a full-time cornerback. I think he's an all-pro level player at the cornerback position. I mean, my comparison from a play style perspective is Champ Bailey. So let that sink in for a second. I think he moonlights at wide receiver. So in that scenario, you can have him take whatever snaps you were giving to Elijah Moore and just redistribute them to Travis Hunter and not see a drop off. And a cornerback room of Ward and Hunter and Emerson allows Newsome to potentially be moved down the line to A, help alleviate any cap problems you have, and B, recoup some additional draft capital either for this year or going into next year. So no brainer on Travis Hunter there at number 2.
Can I ask both of you a question? Mm-hmm. Would you be upset if you never saw him dance after an incompletion ever again? Greg Newsome.
No comment.
Okay. All right. We're all on the same page. Let's just make sure we're all doing it. It's like, dude, you didn't even do anything. It was an overthrow.
Right.
But anyway, all right. I'm going to go on the board here, and I'm going to make sure I hit everything right. I did. Here's this conversation that you want to have about the quarterback position, and I did this a couple of weeks ago, where I talked about Shedeur and some of the deficiencies and why I didn't like him. For tonight's conversation, I'm going to take Shedeur here, and I'm going to say to myself, I hear the buzz surrounding there's this very interesting thing, by the way, guys. I don't know if you've seen this, but there's a lot of people talking about like how weird they think it is that a lot of national people are saying don't take a quarterback 1 and 2 for teams that desperately need one in Tennessee and Cleveland, but you absolutely have to if you're the Giants and the Raiders. And they're like, what? It's like, if they're good enough for that, what? I know that I'm one of the like take Abdul Carter kind of guy, but that's an interesting conversation, I think, to have, just from the standpoint of like, well, maybe they want those names in not Tennessee and Cleveland. And you're like, I don't necessarily disagree with it, but I am this is the way I wanted to articulate what I think about Shedeur Sanders in terms of why I wouldn't do it, but also make the argument for why I would. I texted a friend of mine over the weekend who's a very big Shedeur guy, and we've gone back and forth, had some really productive conversations. Tyler Johnson, we've talked about it a little bit. And so I basically told him what I feel about Shedeur. Okay, I said to him, I understand the pros, and I see a path to him being successful in the NFL. More so than anything, I don't see a guy who's ever going to be more than a top 16 quarterback. That's where I think he is because of the physical limitations. I don't think his arm is weak. I think it's average. I think some people are overblowing that into saying it's weak. He can push the ball vertically. It's just not Josh Allen. It's just not Patrick Mahomes. It's just not Cam Ward. It's not that. So to me, you have to ask yourself, is that good enough? because that's where I see. Now, could he be better than that? Of course. But in my projecting brain, that's what I say. And I say, can that be good enough? And one thing he said was, I think they can win a lot of games with a guy like that. And I'm like, well, you're not wrong. Like, I don't think you're wrong. It's just you got out of the Baker Mayfield business because you wanted more than that. And that now you would kill to just have that back. So for that reason, Shadur, when he is on, when he is protected, when he is feeling good about himself, he can be surgical with that ball placement. It's the best in this class. And for that reason, I see, and he had what was it, 1.3% turnover worthy play percentage? It was incredibly low last year. And that matches up with a lot of what Kevin Stefanski does. And the Browns have been throwing a bunch of interceptions the last couple of years, and you can kind of fix some of those stuff. And I think he could go hand in hand with Kevin Stefanski. And as much as I wouldn't love it, I see a path it being somewhat successful. So for that reason, I'm going to take him tonight, and then I'm going to try to build around him the way I would. All right.
That's fair. I think I'm with you. You know, I used to be on the Abdul Carter train, and now I'm on that Shadur train because we've taken swings at quarterback, and I know someone talked about it. The last time we've picked a quarterback in the top 5, it's been twice. It's been Baker Mayfield, and before that it was Tim Couch. And Tim Couch in '99 was part of an expansion team. We failed him. But you hit the nail on the head. We are starved for top 16 quarterback play. We would kill to have Baker back. At this point, we're bottom 32, and at 31's a Grand Canyon away in terms of our quarterback play. So I think there's something to be said. If they're good enough for the Giants at 3, it's clearly going to be good enough for the Browns at 2. And I'm not that far off for either of them. Cam Ward's my 11th overall prospect, and Shadur Sanders is my 19th overall guy. So they're not that far off from a top 2 or 3 pick when you factor in they're playing the quarterback position.
I made a mistake, guys. I said MC Lawrence as trigger word. I did that.
Oh,
I did.
You know better.
Should I?
I know better. No, it's a running joke between us.
Should I just scrunch down on the camera a little bit here?
Oh no, he's gonna love you. You got a Baker jersey on. All right, Sam, you're back up, man.
So I know we didn't get like a premier tackle to fall to 33 here, but I feel like the board is very interesting. You have Harmon, big disruptor at defensive tackle. Colston Loveland is very intriguing here. That would be a great tight end duo. I would love that. Also, we've got some pretty nice trade offers here. I don't know how realistic they are, but I could move down anywhere from 1 to 3 spots and pick up some nice top 100, 105 selections here. So I think that I am comfortable at this point with taking either Loveland, Harmon, or Donovan Jackson at 33. So I'm going to move down here. Well, I'm used to it. So we're gonna move down here, pick up another third and some future picks, and then I'm going to end up with one of those guys, most likely.
Oh, that's you get the pick. What you lost? No, you have all of them. They're all there.
Yeah. So all right, there you go. I didn't help anything. All right. I think I have to go with Loveland because I just think the talent there is too much to pass on. Like, the guy is a fantastic pass catcher. He may not be the most prototypical inline tight end, but I think you can work with him there. You've seen it happen before, and I think he would just add another dynamic pass catcher to your offense, which, oh, look, we just took a quarterback who could really use one of those guys. So that's pretty convenient. So I'm going to go with Loveland, and I don't know, maybe I'll try to move up here without jeopardizing my 18 day 3 picks here, because I have to finally, confront that and make some picks.
I will give OG Philly some credit here. He said all these reports about the Browns should go quarterback at 2 all came at the same time, like it was a coordinated leak. You don't.
It's that kind of season. I mean,
It's smokescreen season.
Do you guys remember when they were testing Hugh Jackson and they just kept linking stuff to Hugh Jackson so he would tell Mike Silver?
remember when they were going to hire Condoleezza Rice
Oh,
as like
God.
GM or whatever? Like,
She's going to be the head coach.
Yeah.
They were going to bring her in to be head coach. And she was
And at
like,
first-
I like football, but
And at first, when I read that, I was like, no, that can't be serious. And then I'm like, but it is the Browns.
Right.
Like,
that's how it made it through the common sense filter for whoever was intentionally given that information.
Yeah.
You can't put anything past these guys.
Get you a pass catcher here and a blocking tight end in the early 20s. Yeah, I like that. I like that.
Yep.
Strategy.
Yep.
A coordinated league is me and 3 guy. Okay. All right. I should have. All right, Bill, you're on the clock.
Yeah, so I'm on the clock here at 33, and there's two schools of thought here. So the first one is obviously somehow, some way, Josh Simmons made it through the first round and is sitting there staring me in the face at 33. There is, however, a very, very nice trade offer sitting here from San Francisco that allows me essentially how the trade offer breaks down when you use the Rich Hill value chart is our pick right now is worth 180. They're giving me the equivalent of 210, which gives me 2 more selections to slide back. I know in my mind I was going to say I wasn't going to trade down at all. I was going to stick and pick at every pick, but I'm taking this if San Francisco wants to give me an additional top 100 pick, especially with how closely these guys are graded in this class. I will take a second one.
I can't. My screen, it's really small on my screen. So you're sliding back to what to get what?
So sliding back to 43 to get pick 75.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So going back 10 to get another top 100 pick. And in this case, I'm going to reject any trade offers because I'm actually going to pick here for once. So this selection here, this is predicated on the fact that JOK's neck injury is more serious than anyone cares to let on. And we are going to be looking for a new middle of the defense star linebacker to replace JOK. Or if he comes back healthy, now we have a second linebacker that we can move JOK around, move him on the edge as a rusher, things like that. I'm going to go Jihad Campbell out of Alabama here at linebacker because here is the thing. He is probably one of the most violent, old school style linebackers. There's game tape of him out there. He's got no pads. He's got no tape. It is just his hands, his elbows, and whoever gets in his way. And it is violent, especially in the run game. His pass coverage skills, they're not on JOK's level, so let's not get it twisted there. But this is a guy, he's also going to be 21 this summer. Very young player, very young prospect, still has a lot of room to grow. So going to fit those guardrails very well. And I think getting him there at, the middle of the second round, when there's talk of him being a first round selection for some of these teams, I'm going to take that and I'm going to run with it.
Yeah. He plays with his hair on fire. I know that's like such a what do you call that? I don't know. It's just
a cliche.
Cliche. There we go. Oh my goodness, why I couldn't think of the word cliche. I know it's a cliche, but like he does. All right.
Yes.
All right, I'm back on the board, and somehow Colston Loveland's here for me as well. But I'm leaning Elikai Manor, the running back, the wide receiver from Stanford here.
A just Freudian slip?
Yeah, like you know me. It's Monday. You get Shadur in the first round. I look at Elikai Manor. You look at some of the numbers were dropped down a little bit this year, but a lot of that to me had to do with the quarterback play. I didn't think it was very good there at Stanford. I like Jack Besh. I think this is a little high for me on him. The TCU wide receiver, I have him a little bit lower on my board, but Elikai Manor is a size speed guy that I was writing a profile that comes out tomorrow on the OBR on Tuesday for Tetaroa McMillan, and there's some similarities between him and Eli Manor in the sense that like they're fluid athletes. Like I love the way they move and just glide across, and they've got the length and the size, and it's the kind of wide receiver I want to give a rookie quarterback to give him some easy answers mixed with Jerry Jeudy, who can create some of the vertical stuff down the field and things like that. And I'm just trying to build around this quarterback position. So getting a better weapons there. I think that Iomanor could fit into this scheme. And I think the size speed combination mixed with Shedeur Sanders, I think puts a pretty good spot there. So I'll take him at 33.
Yeah, I like that a lot. Iomanor's a very good player, and I think he gives you the type of skill set at receiver that the team does not have, both because of the physicality before and after the catch, and that after the catch ability, where he can take a slant or a drag and then turn it into a 20-yard gain just because he runs the ball like a running back, and you don't have a guy who does that right now.
And I forgot to mention, he will block the hell out of you as a run blocker. So that's one difference between him and Tetaroa McMillan, where it goes in his favor, where we know what Kevin Stefanski thinks about wide receivers needing to block on the outside. And so he can do those sorts of things. So back to you, Sam. Oh, he's already ready.
All right, I am trading up, but I'm not giving up any of my day 3 picks. We're keeping them in the pocket. All right, we're going up to get Donovan Jackson because we need some offensive line help, and there's not a tackle prospect that I like more than him at this point. So we gave up what 48 or 67 and then 94. So we have 88, and now we just got 49. So we're going with Donovan Jackson. Experiment with him at tackle, see if he can continue that success from the second half of the season, especially the college football playoff. And if not, I think you got a terrific guard there. So I think you're going to be happy either way.
Yeah, you're going to find a home for him. Like, we'll see what it is. But, Bill, you and I have had some conversations on the Draft Professor like this when we talk about offensive linemen. Draft him and figure it out later, because
yes,
he's going to play. All right, Bill, it's back to you.
Absolutely. So before I start here, I'm going to take a wild swing, and I'm going to try to see if I can get back to pick 68. I'm picking at 67 right now. I'm going to see if I can get back to pick 68, giving up pick 75, which I got, and pick 103, which is the top of the 4th round. And Buffalo accepts. So I'm going to go back to back here. The first pick I'm going to make is Caleb Johnson, the running back from Iowa, who I think is the best zone runner in this entire draft class. Absolute star, and is going to fit into this scheme very well, whether it be a 1-2 punch with Chubb or he is the lead back in that scenario. And with my second selection here, I'm going to go with a tight end prospect that's kind of fallen off the radar a little bit. Folks aren't nearly as high on him as some are. He is my tight end 2 for me on my big board, and it's Gunnar Helm, the tight end out of Texas. Just an athletic matchup nightmare for opposing defenses, especially opposing linebackers. He bailed out Arch Manning and Quinn Ewers a lot and had to do it very frequently. I have him as a top 50 guy, so to be able to get him here, pick 68 is excellent value for me. His game reminds me a lot of Jake Ferguson, the current Dallas Cowboys tight end, where he's like a 7-11. He's just always open in the zone, and whoever the quarterback of this team is going to be, which we still have to figure out in my mock, he's going to have 2 very good security blankets, and David Njoku on one side and Gunnar Helm on the other when we eventually roll out some 12 personnel.
And we know we're going to see some of that 12 personnel this year.
Absolutely.
Thank God. All right. I will get back on the train here. All right. Let's see what we got going on. Oh, look at them. They're just both right there. They're just.
This always happens.
Somehow it does. Let me look at what we've got on the offensive line because that's very. I'm going to put both of these up here. That's very important. I know some people may call it early for Marcus Bowe here at 67. But just like Bill says about Caleb Johnson and his fit as a zone runner, Marcus Bowe's fit on I think he's an interior offensive lineman in the NFL. I don't know if I think it's guard or center. I like him I think I like him more at center because I think he can use that football IQ, which I think he has a ton of it. You can see how comfortable he feels. In any kind of system, any kind of position, you move him around. He's shown you some of those sorts of things. I just think that he's such a good athlete, and just kind of the movement skills and mixed with he's got power. I mean, he's a smaller guy, but if you want to call a guy of that size smaller, but whatever you want to say. But I just think he's a really good fit, and I think he's a top of the third kind of guy where maybe you want to try him at tackle. I don't think he's a tackle, but maybe you want to try him there and you figure it out. But I think getting some offensive line help for your rookie quarterback would be the way to go.
Yeah. For me, Marcus Bowe is center number one in this class just because of his athletic ability in a class that doesn't have a lot of true centers, but he has the measurements to play tackle. I mean, we're talking about a guy 6'4", 309, 33-inch arm length. He checks every box that you would want as a tackle. We talked about it over at the Draft Professor, Jacob, but he is one of those guys where you draft him and you figure it out.
Yeah.
Like your 5 best guys to protect your quarterback and figure it out later.
Yeah. I'm like, yep, I'm good with that. I'm good with players that can play. All right, Sam. Back to you.
Right. We've got some interesting guys on the board. Could go running back here. Plenty of the Ohio State guys are not on the board, so I don't have to deal with that problem. I don't know how realistic it is, but I am liking Omar Norman Lott a lot here. That was a terrible pun, but he's a very good player. Explosive, very, very high pass rush ceiling, I think, at the next level. And I think adding him to the rotation, and I specify rotation because Tennessee is a weird defense, and that they didn't really play him that much because he was constantly rotating out with a bunch of other guys. So bringing him along more slowly, kind of like they did with Michael Hall, who also was rotated out a lot in college. And you saw, like, he proved he could be a every down player in the league. And I think Norman Lott has that potential as well. And I think this is a good area of the draft to find a guy who can help you in that defensive tackle room, because you're going to have a need there sooner rather than later. So I like him at this point here at 88.
Especially because, like, he's a little bit of an older prospect, but, like, I think as you start getting later in those drafts, we've seen him bend the guardrails, and I think that upside is there at 88 as a pass rusher.
This is the range of the draft where they took Jordan Elliott, which is kind of where you start to expand those guardrails a little bit more. So I think he probably makes it into the draft board. If they're picking at 88 and he's on the board, I don't see how they would turn him down.
Yeah. I think that's sometimes the talent goes that direction. I'm with you. All right, Bill, back to you.
Back to me. So I am going to go a little bit off the beaten path here, and I'm going to go get my quarterback. And some folks may think that this is a bit early. However, with how he performed at the Senior Bowl, I don't think it is. And we are going to go to the elder statesman, the Louisville signal caller, Tyler Shuck, out of Louisville. Natural velocity when he generates it off his hand. He can hit every level of the field without straining. A clean release, gets the ball out with quick anticipation, gets the ball out quickly, drives it down the field very easily. Very good in play action concepts. The biggest concerns about him are his age. He's going to be 25 years old as a rookie, so I know people are going to be screaming Brandon Whedon all over again. And of course, his durability concerns, multiple collarbone injuries in college, broke it at least twice. That's been reported. So is this a little bit high for him? Yes. But this is a prospect that I have watched more, especially seeing him down in Mobile, seeing him spin it in Mobile. I don't think the age is so much a concern anymore because you see guys like Bo Nix and Michael Penix, these older prospects that come into the league and they play like they're elder statesmen. You want a guy who can be able to drive the ball down the field at all three levels, put some spin on it, throw it with some anticipation. If you keep him protected and keep him on schedule, like Stefanski can do when everything's working, he is going to be a very good quarterback. I compare him to Brock Osweiler when Osweiler was with Denver and Houston. That same guy, when everything's working and everything's clicking, he can be a top 16, 17 quarterback. And with all the talent that we've assembled this far in the draft and that we currently have on the roster, that's all we need. At least until we get to 2026 when we can get our guy. In this scenario, obviously couldn't get our guy. But yeah, Tyler Shuck from Louisville is going to be the pick here for me.
I'll tell you what, it's very funny that you said that. On my drive in today, I was listening to Todd McShay's podcast, and he was giving a lot of love for Tyler Shuck on his Thursday podcast. I'm so glad that I listened to that and heard how to pronounce it because I was saying show. Sam knows that. Yes. I did that on here. I did that a couple of weeks ago, and I was like,
I don't know what you're talking. I think you always said Shuck.
Hey, that's a good co-host.
I think you were the first one to actually pronounce it that way.
Thank you. Appreciate
it. You were first in line. You were the first to the punch.
It was me. It was always me. All right, let's see what I got going on here. All right, so I'm thinking about adding even more offense here because I'm like doing the makeover here. But I want to see what's going on on the defensive line and the corner position just because I like that. Gelati is really interesting to me. I think he's one of the bigger guys, but I still think that 20.9%, that pass rush run rate is right where I want it to be.
Yeah.
Although I love David Walker in the fourth. We'll see what happens. We'll gamble there. Let's see what I've got. Do I've got? Oh, well, would you just look at that?
Would you look at it?
And then nobody gets you guys might get that reference, but I feel like a lot of people are going to be like, what's that? That's that incredibly obscure Vine reference that I make probably every day. Would you look at that?
Would you just look at it?
RJ Harvey, like he's going to run in, like I always make this joke. I'm like, oh, he doesn't have the 4.3 speed, but he's got 4.4 speed and he gets there so quickly. I just love the patience and just sometimes he gets a little too patient and you're like, go, no, please. And that kind of happens from time to time, but I think he really fits in well in this offensive scheme. And if you're making over this offense and you're putting stuff around Shedeur Sanders to make him the most successful, I think getting him a wide receiver interior wherever Bo plays, and then an explosive running back that can hit big plays to take some pressure off the passing offense. That's kind of the way I would do it if I went down that route of taking Shedeur. All right, back to you, Mr. Sam.
All right. Well, the board fell exactly how I wanted it to. Anthony Belton still on the board, and I'm going to go with him because I think he is one of the more underrated offensive tackle prospects in this class, and I think he has all the makings of a very good professional player. And I don't think you have to start him right away, especially because we already took Donovan Jackson earlier. So whether he ends up on the left side or the right side, I think he's going to be a good one, and I'm very happy to get him here at the top of the 4th.
I flirted with taking him in the 60s of this week's written mock.
Yeah.
And then I was like, with the age, they may wait before they go because he's a little bit older, so they may want to wait on taking him a little bit. But at 103, I think that's a point where you're just kind of like, yeah, there's take him along. Well, I will send it to you, Bill.
Yeah, so I am going to get a pass catcher. Probably doesn't necessarily fit the age guardrails, but when you have a guy who has 104 catches, almost 1,400 yards, and 16 touchdowns in one season, and he's a wide receiver prospect that's a recently converted quarterback, so he's still learning the position. When you're sitting here at pick 165, you take a dart throw, and I'm going Nick Nash, the wide receiver from San Jose State. Like I said, converted quarterback, still learning the position, still growing into it. He's a little bit of an older prospect, so he's probably not going to fit the age guardrails. But when you look at it, little bit over a 5% drop rate in his career. So yes, he's got some issues with that. But my favorite part, missed tackles for this guy, 29 missed tackles forced. Mm-hmm. You can't catch him. There's a reason he put up almost 1,400 yards because he makes people miss. And that's what this offense needs next to Jerry Jeudy is someone who can make people miss. And Nick Nash is going to be that favorite target of either Tyler Shuck or the veteran, whoever wins the competition that we're going to have here in my mock.
He's a favorite of mine to play around with. Where can I get him? You know what I mean? Like you play that game when you're doing all these mock simulations, and like I do a written mock on the OBR.com every Monday. I'm at this point, I've done like 6 or 7 Mondays in a row. So like it's all blurring together, but like, he's that guy that you're like, does he make it to 150? You know, like you're just kind of like, where can I get away with taking a different position and Nick Nash being there? Like, you know, like yes. You're kind of like, can I play that game? And so I'm with you on that one. All right. What do I got going on? Did I lose? I did not lose David Walker. Would you look at that?
David Walker. Look at it.
Just look at the sack production. I know it's not a division. I know it's Central Arkansas, but you just look at that production and you just look at the fact that my thing is, I always say this, if you are going to take a small school guy, he had better be dominant at that school because there's going to be such a big jump. Look at what David Walker did to that level of competition. And there was a rumor that he didn't transfer to a bigger school because he was all about the state of Arkansas and that playing for somewhere in Arkansas. And so he wasn't going to transfer out of Arkansas. I heard something about that floating out there. And so like that had something to do with it. I'm not sure how true that is, but I heard it out there in the ethos. It was on the internet, so it had to be true.
Right.
But he fits it. 6'2", 260 size. He's got the size. He's got the power. I think he can convert speed to power as a pass rusher. And I think he's a really fun, like, hey, at 102, you got a guy that was incredibly productive. He'll need a little bit of time to be brought along, but he's part of the reason I think this is such a deep defensive line class. You can get a guy like that with that kind of production and upside this late. You can get outside of the top 100 and get a guy like that. And I think that's very telling of this class. All right, Mr. Sam, we are just moving. We're just cruising right along here.
Yeah, this is uncharted territory for me. Who are these guys? DJ Giddens, I think, is really good value here. Not the most explosive, fast guy, but I think he's a player who you can include in your two-headed monster at running back in your backfield and be very happy. Very productive at Kansas State. I think at 165 here in the 5th round, you're pretty happy.
Yeah, I'm with you. All right, Mr. Bill.
Yeah, so I am going to go with I'm going to probably butcher his name. It's an edge rusher from Boise State, Ahmed Hassanain. Ahmed H is what we're going to go with here. I mean, 10 sacks, 17 hits, 35 hurries, very productive, 6'3", 271. Sitting here, pick 194. I'm looking for a little bit of a production, but also a little bit of a projection. Reminds me a lot of Trey Flowers when he played with the Patriots. That same guy had a very good motor, very solid. He wasn't going to give you, double-digit sacks, and you don't need him to do that, although I believe Ahmed could do that. He did it in his final year at Boise State, but here at 194, I'm going to go with Ahmed Hassanain from Boise State.
You guys thought I wasn't taking anybody from Ohio State tonight, didn't you? That's what you guys
thought we were going to get away with it.
Like hell we are. Right here in that sweet zone, once thought of as the top corner in the class. At some point, I think in preseason, people had Denzel Burke up there as potentially the best corner in this class. It was a bit of a roller coaster year for Denzel Burke. He was at his best in zone coverage. I know that's not what the Browns like to do, but he has shown the ability to be a very good corner at times. The athleticism's there, the size is there. What did they have him listed at? 6'1"? Yeah, that's probably right. But I don't know. I look at Denzel Burke. I see a guy that has upside, has done some of that stuff at a high level, had a little bit of a roller coaster. But I thought he gets picked on against Oregon in that first game against Oregon. And I thought he really bounced back after that. I thought that he had some good games there towards down the stretch. I thought he played pretty well at times in the college football playoff. It's just a guy I think it's got talent, could really fight for a roster spot. And yeah.
I think that's just a homer pick. I don't
know
no other way to say it.
You know what? It's like I'm always trying to find one way. I try really, really hard to not pick an Ohio State guy because he's an Ohio State guy. So when there is an Ohio State guy that lines up, I get really excited. I'm like, oh yeah, I could justify this, and it would be legit.
I can deny the homer accusations on this one.
No,
right. It was just best player available at that point.
Yeah, of course.
A little bit of a reach. All right, Sam.
All right. Again, I don't know how realistic it is, but Malachi Moore here at 181, I think, is a really nice fit. Just a versatile, cerebral player who doesn't have the ideal physical characteristics that you might be looking for from a guy way earlier in the draft. But here, I think it makes perfect sense, and I think he can step right into a role at different spots in the secondary from day one.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I'm with you. I like Malachi Moore. I love those. I love those plays all over the field kind of safeties or defensive backs, however you want to put it. All right, Bill.
Yeah, so let me throw some numbers at you here for my next pick. So 6'7" and 5/8 inches, 341 pounds, 10 1/4 inch hands, 34.5 inch arms. You hear all that and you probably think, holy cow, who is this mountain of a man? It's Jalen Travis, the offensive tackle from Iowa State. Very good quickness coming out of his burst, beats rushers to the spot, has the giddy up and burst to beat blitzers coming around the corner, times his snap very well. Obviously, when you're 6'7", you play more upright. It's a little bit harder, but I'm here at pick 202, and I want some development offensive tackles to either develop or challenge DeJuan Jones and Jack Conklin. Should I bring them both back or I go in free agency? But when I have a guy of that size, that arm length, that hands, you can't teach that. I'll teach him football. I can't teach 341 pounds and 34.5 inch arms.
He's a Princeton transfer, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep, Princeton transferred to Iowa State.
Oh, yeah. Wow, it's a shoe-in.
I'm wondering why. Yeah, that's a good point. I'm wondering why he isn't being talked about more because there is that physical skill set, and he graded out very well as a pass protector this past season at PFF. So there was not a drop off in play going from Princeton to Iowa State.
No.
If I wait this long to take a tight end, I'm probably starting to lean towards finding a tight end that can block. And Jalen Conyers from Texas Tech can block. He can block his butt off. What was that?
I distinctly remember you and I were on a pod a few weeks back where we talked about Jalen Conyers from Texas Tech.
Oh, we did, yes.
And his amazing size and how we thought he was an athletic nightmare. And he still is 6'4", 265.
65. I forgot that too. Yes. I remember the conversation. Dude, you know how it is. All these draft shows, they run together for me. But oh my God. Yes, please. 6th round blocking tight end. Got it. Check. All right. Back to you, Sam.
This is a interesting spot. I would take Mello Dotson, but I don't think that's very realistic because that's a 50-point delta between his consensus rank and where he is now. So we're gonna pass on that one. I am intrigued by Kyle Monangai at this point. And I think his play style where he's just going to run right into your face as hard as he possibly can, I think that's it's a skill set the Browns don't have right now, and I think that's a good complement with Giddens here, adding that to the backfield. That's a guy I trust inside the 5-yard line. So I'm all for taking Monangai here.
Yeah, I like Kyle.
Great, like RB aesthetic too. Like that's a positive in his draft stock. So
yeah,
take all the positives we can get. All right, over to you, Bill.
Yeah, so if you thought I was done picking beef in the offensive line room, you would be sorely mistaken, because now I'm going 6'6" and 7/8, 314 pounds, 10 and 1/8 inch hands, 35 and an 1/8 inch arms, and 83 and 3/4 wingspan. I'm going to an HBCU, guys. We're going Carson Vinson, the offensive tackle out of Alabama A&M. Capable in the run blocking, very good in pass protection. Obviously, you have concerns about him in level of competition, obviously going from an HBCU to the NFL. But there's players that have done it. And again, like I said with Jalen Travis, I'm saying it again with Carson Vinson, you cannot teach this man's size. And he has a good foundation and fundamentals to be, at a minimum, a backup tackle and could compete for a starting job if DeJuan or Jack miss time. So Carson Vinson here at pick 206.
Remember on a show that we did, you're like, I'm surprised more people don't get broken ribs from playing this guy because his hands are just so violent. And that's one of those lines that just sticks in your head. Every time I see his name, I just hear you saying he breaks people's ribs. And I'm like,
he does. His hand punch breaks people's ribs. And I remember the joke that you made that it still sticks with me, of course. And the reasoning, Jacob, do you remember the reasoning why he couldn't put his hands in his pockets when he was down in Mobile?
Yeah. Did you know about that, Sam?
I have not heard this story.
Yeah. So legally speaking, he's not allowed to put his hands in his pockets because that's concealing a deadly weapon.
That's a good one. You guys come up with that yourself?
No, I stole that. I don't remember where, but I stole it. I'm not that funny.
It's a perfect setup. It's a perfect segue.
Oh, don't you boo me. No, that's fair, boo me. Okay, so there's really no reason Jack Nelson should be hanging around right here. The left tackle from Wisconsin. But if he is, this is a 6'7" dude that, like, he doesn't move like this giant lumbering guy that you that he kind of is in a sense. Like he's very nimble of his foot. Like you look when you look at his grades from PFF and you just see like he doesn't grade well as a gap run blocker, but he grades really well as a zone blocker, and it's just he's what 6'7", 316, bigger, strong guy. I like Jack Nelson a lot. If he falls, I would have taken him at 178 too. I just didn't realize it, but him here at 191, I think that would just be like icing on the tip on the top of the frosting icing. I don't know what it goes on cakes.
That's a lot of sugar.
Yeah,
both of them. Yeah, we got both of them. All right, Sam, you're in uncharted territory. You're in the 200s.
Yeah, this is interesting is the word. So Kobe King is a very, for lack of a better term, interesting prospect because he doesn't fit the mold of a modern NFL linebacker. He's listed at 6'1", 248. Like the guy is dense. He is a throwback Mike linebacker, inside the box, stack and shed, just blow the guard up and make the tackle. Love that. I don't know how highly that's going to be valued because you don't really see that kind of a player anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Very limited, I think, athletically and in coverage. That's really he struggles. And that's probably why he gets pushed down here into the 200s. But I think he's got a really good head on his shoulders. He sees the game, reacts very quickly. And I think that kind of a skill set where you have an elite trait here, even if it's maybe not the most valuable, I think you can work with that in this linebacker group, regardless of the health status of anyone else. And then maybe he can be a factor on special teams too. But I just think like really, really fun player, especially if you're someone who grew up watching the late 90s, early 2000s, just thumpers at linebacker. I think he's a throwback player.
All right. I like it. I like that. I like it. All right, Bill.
So here at pick 216, I toyed around with this idea of going power running all day long, and I was coming back through my Mobile tape, and there's one guy, his size guardrails probably will not fit in Cleveland, but when you're here at 216, you can kind of let go of the wheels a little bit. We're going to get us a fullback here, folks. That's going to be a backup guard. 5'10", 270 pounds, 32-inch arms. We're going Willie Lampkin, the backup guard from North Carolina.
Love it.
And he can either be a backup guard, a backup center, or if you want to put him as a fullback and run some power eye down people's throats, we can do that too. We can have our own version of the tush push here on the lake. Let's do it. Let's run it. Give me Willie Lampkin here.
So such a fun player. He's great. Watch him go toe to toe with Deion Walker. Just a complete juxtaposition of size and physical ability, but he's winning the battle just because he's got that dog in him.
He's the ultimate leverage player. Like he will get lower than you. Like he is going to.
He already is.
Yeah, he's already down there. So I was scrolling through here and I was like, oh, what's that? A power back? Oh man. What about doubling up on running back? I got my speedy guy, my big play, my bursty guy, the dynamic RJ Harvey, and then I get Taj Brooks, who's just looking to hurt people. There's really no other analysis to that pick. He just wants to hurt you. That's just what he's doing.
I'm sold.
Yep.
All right, Sam.
There's a lot of guys that I can't in good conscience take because I know there's no shot they're going to be there. Jake Majors is an interesting player, and with the uncertainty surrounding the center position, both your starter Ethan Posich and the health status of Luke Whippler, I think you would benefit from taking a guy like Majors who has a lot of experience, a lot of good play at center. Maybe he could work out as guard as well. Again, don't know if he's going to be here at 216, but I think that's a later in the later day 3, round 6. I think Majors would be a very good pick for this team.
All right.
And I'm right back on the board.
Yeah, I know it's those back-to-backs. All right, Bill.
So I'm gonna go defensive tackle here, and it's surprise, surprise. I'm going back to the Ivy League. Although he didn't play at the Ivy League this year, he played in the ACC. Has reportedly benched 225 pounds 45 times by his Ivy League coaches. A 4.57 shuttle time. His Ivy League coaches called him "quote unquote" unblockable. And you see it on tape when he was at Louisville as well, folks. We're going Thor Griffith, the defensive tackle from Louisville here. Just a versatile guy, can play anywhere inside that defensive line. Reminds me a lot of Michael Brockers when he was at LSU, with significantly more power. And in the all-world name team, if I can get a defensive tackle that shares the name with the God of Thunder that can bench 45 times, I'm going to take it here at pick 217.
With that name, he better bench 225 for 45. Question about how many running backs are they going to carry without getting rid of Nick Chubb? I could realistically see them back to carrying 4.
Yeah.
I very realistically see that.
Yeah.
Which would mean 3 plus Nick Chubb, theoretically.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And in this class, you can double up on it with just how deep it actually goes. And, I've looked at the 2026 class as well, getting ready for next year. And I would not be shocked if teams don't double up this year because of how shallow it looks next year. I mean, next year it's the Jeremiah Love show plus 3 other folks. So I wouldn't be shocked to see them double up this year.
Ooh, Aubrey Burks is interesting. The safety from West Virginia. As you can see, didn't play a ton this year, but you've seen some slot, some in the box, mostly out deep, but just as a versatile guy. They've moved him around, done a bunch of different things with him, had some injury issues this year, so probably falls to you. But I think a versatile guy like that in this late in the 6th round, I think could be in play there. All right, Sam.
Speaking of carrying 4 running backs, I think you could potentially see them back to carrying 4 tight ends. And I know we already got a pass catcher in Colston Loveland, and now I think we go back to the tight end class and find a bigger-bodied inline blocker. And I think Mitchell Evans can be that guy, and I think he also gives you the potential to have some pass-catching ability as well. I thought he had a good college football playoff. He looked good against Ohio State as well. It's not there yet, but the physical traits are there, and I can see a projection to where he is able to be an effective all-around tight end at the next level. And at 217, I'm willing to take that chance on a guy with his physical traits.
Yeah, I'm with you. All right, Bill, we're back to you. Is this your last pick, Bill?
It is. Okay. So with my final pick, I'm going to go back to the HBCUs, and I'm going to go with a safety prospect that is a little bit underrated in the scouting community, but folks like me, who grind tape, I've watched, graded, and comped over 450 players. I've gotten my fill of watching this player during his time at Howard. Very athletic safety, very good in zone coverage. Good instincts. This guy knows where the ball's going to go before it goes there. Probably starts his career on special teams and in a rotation in the safety, but could eventually be that starting safety next to Grant Delpit. It's Kenny Gallup Jr., the safety from Howard, here at the end of the draft. And I think if you get him here, I've got a 4th round grade on him. So to get him almost 3 rounds later is excellent value, and I'll take that every time.
I haven't gone defensive line yet, or defensive tackle. I like Ty Robinson. I think got some pass rush upside. I think he had a 10% pass rush win rate for Nebraska in the interior. Just some upside there, pretty decent as a run defender as well. So I'll dip into that water, and I will send it to Sam for Sam's last pick, and then I'll make my last pick, and then we'll quickly recap and get us out of here.
All right, Mr. Irrelevant. Keandre Lambert-Smith, Penn State transfer. These Penn State receivers, there's always just something. You watch these guys play, and you're just like, he's got something. I don't necessarily see it on a consistent basis. Some of that's due to quarterback play, some of that's due to scheme. Transferred to Auburn, didn't take that next step, but there's talent there. And I think at this point in the draft, you're taking a dart throw on guys who either have a high level skill or trait, or you've seen it on tape before at some point. And I've seen it on tape with Lambert-Smith. So I'm willing to take him here with the last pick in the draft and see if he can fight his way onto the practice squad.
Love it.
So for what Sam's using NFL Mock Draft Database, their big board they're the consensus big board. So they take all the other big boards and they put them together and they make a consensus one. So it often is way different than other ones because you're getting personal rankings. And in this one, this is a combination of a bunch of different personal rankings. And that's why I like to use it quite a bit just for written mocks, because it kind of brings all of those in. Sometimes I like PFF, but it just depends. So that's why you'll get some differences there. Okay. And my last pick is going to be Aaron Smith, the linebacker from South Carolina State. I think he's a pretty good run defender, kind of does a lot of roaming sideline to sideline. Can do some things as a coverage guy, but I think he could also be a really nice special teamer. Hey, see ball, hit ball. He does that. So I will first give it to Sam so Sam can recap his draft.
So we moved around a little bit earlier on, ended up adding a third rounder and a fourth rounder and a sixth rounder next season. So our class for 2025 ends up being Cam Ward at 2, quarterback from Miami. Then at 36, we got Colston Loveland, tight end from Michigan. Traded up to 49 to snag Donovan Jackson, the offensive lineman from Ohio State. Then at 88, we landed Omar Norman Lott, the defensive tackle from Tennessee. At 103 at the top of the fourth round, Anthony Belton, the tackle from North Carolina State. 165, running back DJ Giddens from Kansas State. 181 was Malachi Moore, the safety from Alabama. 194 was Kyle Monangai, the running back from Rutgers. And then 202, Kobe King, linebacker, Penn State. 216, Jake Majors, interior offensive lineman from Texas. 217, Mitchell Evans, tight end from Notre Dame. And Mr. Irrelevant, 257, wide receiver Keandre Lambert-Smith from Auburn.
Guys, after you're done in the comments, in the chat and things like that, tell us who you think had the best mock draft. So I meant to say that. So it won't be me. We know that. All right, Bill, you were on the clock. You're on the clock to recap the times that we're on the clock.
Yeah, so we started off at number 2, going Travis Hunter, the cornerback, full-time, wide receiver, sometime, prospect from Colorado. Traded down to take Jihad Campbell at linebacker from Alabama at 43. And then traded back up for pick 68 to go back-to-back and taking Caleb Johnson, the running back from Iowa, and Gunnar Helm, the tight end from Texas. Pick 94, we go with a signal caller, Tyler Shuck, quarterback from Louisville. Pick 165, Nick Nash, the productive wide receiver from San Jose State. Pick 194, Ahmed Hassanein from Boise State. Learned that pronunciation off screen a few minutes ago, so that's what we're going to go with. Pick 202 and 206, we got two human mountains in Jalen Travis from Iowa State and Carson Vinson, the offensive tackle from Alabama A&M. We go with Willie Lampkin, the North Carolina. They have him listed as a guard, but I could see him as a fullback, a center. Just a Willie Lampkin is going to be his position. And then we go Thor Griffith, the defensive tackle from Louisville, one of the strongest defensive tackles in this class. And then we wrap it up at pick 257 with Kenny Gallup Jr., the safety from Howard.
Look at this. They gave me an F for Shedeur Sanders. That's just like, I'm low on Shedeur Sanders, but I would never give it that. I'm not that low on Shedeur Sanders.
Yeah.
But anyway, this is how I would build the team around Shedeur Sanders. Elikai Manor, the size speed wide receiver from Stanford. Marcus Bowe, who I think is a guard, maybe a center. Just depends on where you want to do. Really athletic player from Purdue. RJ Harvey, the explosive running back from UCF at 94. David Walker, the size, speed, power pass rusher from Central Arkansas. The homer pick of the night, Denzel Burke, the cornerback from Ohio State at 164. Jalen Conyers, the freaky blocking tight end out of Texas Tech. Jack Nelson, the left tackle from Wisconsin. Taj Brooks, my power back, and pick 199 out of Texas Tech. Aubrey Burks, the kind of versatile safety from West Virginia. Ty Robinson, the defensive tackle from Nebraska. And Aaron Smith, the linebacker from South Carolina State. I got a B-, which feels pretty good because I started with an F. And that is how we that's how we wrap it up. So, Bill, real quick before we wrap this up, thank you so much for joining us. Let everybody know where they can find all your stuff.
Yeah, so you can find all my stuff over on X at Sparks Scouting. I also am a writer and an analyst for the Right Way Sports Network. TWSN.net is where you can find all of my content. My pre-combine positional rankings are dropping this week and next, so go check those out. As well as I will be at the NFL Combine Thursday and Friday. So if you're out and about in Indianapolis, come say hi to me. Let's talk some shop and let's talk some ball. But I appreciate you guys having me on tonight.
Well, guys, that is another show in the books. We'll be back again next Monday. Thanks for everybody that tuned in. The OBR was live for well over 2 hours straight after Jeff Lloyd was live from 6 to 6:30. So lots of great 2.5 hours worth of content from us tonight. More great content tomorrow. It's Tuesday, which means it's the React with Pete Smith and Brad Ward tomorrow. So you will not want to miss that. That's one of my favorite shows that I watch every week because they do all the legwork. They go and they find all these videos and all these clips and all these things about the Browns and they play them for you and then they react to it. And I love it because they do all the legwork for me. I sent Brad a text last summer saying that. I was like, dude, I love it because sometimes I don't have time to find all that stuff, but they bring it all to you. And I think it's a really unique show. So make sure you guys check that out and everything else that's going on this week. And make sure you go over to the OBR.com mock draft every day, Monday through Saturday. Tetaroa McMillan draft profile up tomorrow morning, Tuesday morning. Thank you guys so much. We'll see you guys again next time. As always, go Browns.